30 exact years have passed since 1993. It remains to this day one of the most, if not the most, crucial year of the franchise. The first year of changes that affected the original run and also part of the modern material. Sure, the last 5 years proved to be equally innovative, with Naohiro Shintani replacing Tadayoshi Yamamuro as a character designer in Dragon Ball Super Broly, and with Dragon Ball Super Superhero being the first film in full CGI, putting aside Goku and Vegeta in favor of Gohan and Piccolo, but 93 still maintains its importance for applying some changes while the original series was still airing on Japanese Wednesdays, unlike the undefined hiatus of the last 5 years. Starting with February 93, the second TV special was released about the history of Trunks' tragic timeline, but unlike the Bardock special, this one takes Toriyama's special chapter into account, but altering a few details like having Trunks reach his Super Saiyan form after encountering Gohan's corpse and not during their training, and of course letting the audience watch the main conflict instead of off-screen battles. Before tackling supervision, let's fast forward to the subsequent week on March 6th, the date of another product, a new theatrical film, the 11th, about a passive-aggressive Saiyan who endured traumatic events, like getting stabbed by the king himself or getting his news interrupted by another Saiyan newborn, and eventually became his own father's puppet and wiped out the South Galaxy. So the Dragon Team's task is to locate and defeat this guy, who is apparently an unordinary Super Saiyan. In fact, someone dares to address him as legendary. Such a plot would sound like a heated soup nowadays, but back in 93 felt like a breath of fresh air, especially considering how subpar the previous 2 movies turned out to be. The franchise needed a renaissance after nearly 7 years of animated adaptations, and such a comparison between the history of Trunks and this new movie sort of recalls what happened across the ocean, where their cutesy version of Oliver Twist was followed by the tale of a teen mermaid or something like that. Such a renaissance would revolutionize some of the inner hierarchies, with Tadayoshi Yamamuro stepping over Minoru Maeda in both roles of supervisor and character designer, and Shigeyasu Yamauchi eventually becoming the series director in the Buu arc, replacing Daisuke Nishio. To put it simply, these 2 products do represent a handover from Maeda's final contribution in the TV special to Yamamuro getting more and more relevant as an artist, at last worthy of becoming the new supervisor in movies, because his traits are just what the show needed to regain some freshness. In this first movie though, he's not alone, as he's supported by artists able to respect the model sheets accurately, such as Nakatsuru, Shimanuki, Hizada and Miyahara handling the respective sections. Regardless of your thoughts story-wise, you still have to acknowledge the all-around importance of this movie, from a brand new supervisor to the villain himself, the only non-canon antagonist the fandom is reminiscent of, on equal terms with the likes of Frieza, Cell and Buu. Cooler was just too derivative and boring, while Broly received divisive feedback, as he's either considered an unmerciful and cool bastard or an overpowered brain-dead illiterate. Toei realized this very villain could never pass unnoticed, which explains why they would come up with 2 sequels in 1994, and wouldn't you know it, everyone was busy shitting on Bio Broly when the actual Wars movie had been released months prior. But I digress. Possibly influenced by the mystery enveloping Cell, the 11th movie of the franchise supplies a unique approach during the first act, with the Dragon Team investigating the true identity of the Super Saiyan before their brawl against Broly and some unfortunate Koyama-esque tropes, like Piccolo landing to New Vegeta just to save Gohan in peril, and everyone knocked out cold but Goku. Nevertheless, not even Koyama's unimaginative clichés can erase what this film accomplished, like Yamamuro's consecration leading him to supervise the 12th movie, released on July 10th. A nice looking product directed by Yoshihiro Ueda this time, willing to ride the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan tidal wave, yet with a much more unremarkable villain, and Yamauchi's first directional performance in a movie who'd work on at least 1 theatrical film per year up until 1996. Speaking of Yamauchi, he provided direction in an OVA later that year, actually following the events narrated in the Broly movie, in which the Dragon Team has to deal with a Zephyrian scientist eager to exterminate every single Saiyan in the universe. Even though this special episode was connected to an NES game, it is technically the last medium released in the Chala Head Chala era. While it's nowhere near as groundbreaking as the Broly movie, the presence of Seigashi animators working on this certainly catches our attention, as well as some extra names like Yoichi Onishi, Takashi Nishizawa, Hideko Kimoto, Hitoshi Naba and Naotoshi Shida, and also an uncredited Megumi Yamashita as a newcomer. Once again, Echiaki is a pretty bland antagonist. I like Vegeta being cooperative for a change, but Goku reiterating he's an Earthling and not a Saiyan has officially become a tedious trend from Koyama's part. 93 also features some new names in the main series, since a few new studios join in with the regular episode rotation, such as Doga Kobo, only supervising the first act of episode 177, and not a very good one, Studio Carpenter with Yuji Akamada, whose early entries featured Shimanuki's additional corrections, and fan favorite Studio Cockpit and Keisuke Masunaga, responsible for the notorious section of Goku facing Cell, Cell Jr.'s humiliating the Dragon Team, and Gohan obliterating Cell for good. Why are they so highly regarded? For their fierce expressivity, for uncovering talented animators like Masaki Iwane, Isao Sugimoto, Tatsufumi Ito, and even Yoshihiko Umakoshi? It's up to you to pick the answer, but either of them can describe their popularity quite well. Although perhaps it's only me, but Miyahara's presence in their early episodes is a bit unnecessary. I get the on-off model shenanigans, but standardizing Masunaga's more angular traits looks like the mother of the missed opportunities. Fortunately, what isn't a missed opportunity is 1993 itself, the first ever renaissance of Dragon Ball before 2018. Retrospectively, it wouldn't sound as impressive as some other animes approving changes, but a part of me would have liked to witness the audience's reaction to the Maeda Yamamuro handover back then. Would they have approved it like they did with Shintani and Kubota? Or would they have stuck to their glorious yet unstable past? Nobody knows the exact answer.